Bandai Namco localization teams admit they order Japanese devs to censor their female character designs. We tell them that the cleavage is a bit too exposed or the skirt is a bit too short. Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to the GNRO Minicast. Yes, we are back from a long-awaited hiatus, or long-standing hiatus. Thankfully, though, everybody in my family is starting to feel a lot better, and so we can start getting back to business as usual. I'm your host, Adam Mickelson, aka Drak. I hope everybody's having an awesome day or night when you're listening to this. And today we're talking Bamco Nandai, the wonderful people behind such beloved franchises as Tekken 8, which came out this year, also Soul Calibur, etc. And also we're discussing the overreach of localizers within companies having way too much power to be able to tell the artists, the creators of the games that are selling so well, what they can and cannot do. And of course, this article is coming to us by boundingintocomics.com and the author being Spencer Bakuli. So let's get right into it. Let's be frank. No, you be Frank, I'll be Hawkeye. I'm sure that joke went over everybody's head. There is something fundamentally broken in an artistic medium when those in charge of its shepherding have begun to proudly censor and boast about censoring a given artist's personal work. Yes, there is a bit of a problem. We've been seeing that in the anime industry, specifically with Jamie Marchi and the fact that she likes to censor scripts in order to add in nonsensical political agenda where there was none. Sadly, such is the case for the medium of video games, as the localizers responsible for bringing Bandai Namco's Japanese titles to the Western world. Puritanical censorship of said works, particularly any sexy female designs therein, has become not just common, but the industry norm. And it shouldn't be. This unfortunate fact was recently confirmed by representatives from both Bandai Namco and Bandai Namco Europe during a recent interview given to the Japan Times Matthias Sena. Or Chena, I don't care. John Chena. Asked for their thoughts on the local round of discourse surrounding English language localizers' ongoing, self-important butchering of Japanese media, which is what I brought up earlier, the Jamie Marchi bullshit, Bandai Namco Europe's senior localization manager Frank Gentry offered his support to this cultural imperialism, that's actually really appropriate, and praised just how effective their censorious efforts have been, particularly regarding how Japanese game developers dress their heroines. That's not your job, asshole. It's not your job. If Hideo Kojima wants to parade somebody like Quiet out in a bikini, that's his call. That's his character. I don't believe that even in this year and day and age, I still have to hammer this home. The artists are in charge of the overall vision. You localize it. All you do is translate it. You have no power over this, and yet game companies are giving them that. They shouldn't be. We tell them that the cleavage is a bit too exposed, or the skirt is a bit too short. Deal with it. Before, they weren't very flexible, but they've become more proactive on such subjects because you whined to fucking HR. And the HR breathing down their necks makes it so. In other words, you have way too much power within your own goddamn company. It's that simple, and frankly, this is overreach to an nth degree that is deplorable. Yet despite this brazen admission from the company's European arm, Bandai Namco localization project manager Pierre Froguet, I'm guessing that's how you say it, still believes, without a hint of irony, that localizers are working to ensure that the player, whichever country they're from, should understand and feel the same thing as someone playing in the original language. Yeah, that's about as tone deaf as the asshole from Ubisoft coming out and saying, you just have to get used to not owning your own games. These companies need to do a serious internal audit and start getting rid of these tone-deaf bitches and start replacing them with people who actually care about their customers. I'm not saying fans anymore, boys and girls, customers, because that's what matters. Efforts have been made to understand the needs of the English-speaking world. No, the English-speaking world has continued to shove its own panties up its own ass crack. and they need to stop doing that. It's funny because so many people in the US are screaming this, and yet they still aren't listening. It's almost like their political agenda is outweighing all forms of common fucking sense. Further, the project manager revealed that the most common changes asked for by Western localizers related to such topics as alcohol, politics, or religion. Oh, and there's the hot buttons right there. I can already feel a bunch of butthurt bitches out in the US pissed off forever at their mommies and daddies for getting them up at 7 a.m. to go to church, and they will literally not allow any kind of religious representation in media ever again. For their own personal triggering, will not allow it. Offering up an example, Froger asserted, "When there are people dressed in black boots and big leather coats in Europe, that could bring to mind a Nazi uniform. And unless it's actually a Nazi uniform, you are wrong and you should not be overreaching like this, Pierre." More like Pisson. From there, Froger closed out his time with Cena by reaffirming his belief that Bandai Namco localization efforts, at least those he has overseen, were all done in service of helping to create connections to Japanese culture and help Europeans discover its depth while respecting both the game and the player. And the funniest part about all of this is Pierre does not respect either one of those things. They don't respect the game, they don't respect the company, they don't respect the players, and they most especially do not respect the money being exchanged for said game. They don't respect any of this and should not have jobs in positions of high power within these companies. They do not represent those who they claim to represent. And while the actual act of confession itself comes as a surprise, its information does not, as recent years have seen Bandai Namco adopt female character censorship as part of their standard operating procedure for some time. Yes, I'm already starting to hear about that with Tekken 8. I think somebody was saying that Soul Calibur 6 got quite a bit of editing to it, and it shouldn't have. And I can already tell you that there were already some degrees of censorship with companies like Nintendo with Smash. Granted, it's Nintendo; they were going to do it anyway. Yeah, this is overreach of such an nth degree. It's pissing me off personally, especially when you have a successful game like Tekken 8, and there's a huge demand that one of Tekken 8's DLC characters be one Tifa Lockhart from Final Fantasy VII Remake, which Harada has openly admitted right now he hasn't even had that conversation yet. I guess they were at a convention, both Square Enix and Harada, and they were sitting right next to each other. He never thought to have the conversation. I mean, I'll applaud him for his honesty. Something tells me, though, he's not telling the entire truth, but I can already tell you that if Tifa was to show up in Tekken 8, there would be huge efforts to, quote, censor her. And by that, I mean, she is not allowed to be big busty. She's not allowed to be big ass. You're not allowed to have hourglass women anymore, even though they do exist in real life. And the fat pride movement really needs to just, pull their panties out of their ass crack about it. And just realize that if you don't like how they look compared to how you look, you can change that. In 2018, the company removed the Phantom Remedy mission from the North American release of One Piece World Seeker Phantoms DLC, due simply to the fact that it featured a fan service scene of the female Straw Hat members enjoying a dip in a hot spring. Oh, how dare they! Oh no! Women in bikinis! Seriously, get the fuck over it, people. Last year, data mining into their upcoming Amazon Games published MMO Blue Protocol revealed that US players will be presented with less sexualized and less feminized versions of the original JP character models. Do you want to know what that's going to cause? People to go to the Japanese version. I'm not even kidding you. I love the fact that this is now an option, or at least this is now the option that a lot of people go to, is that if it becomes overly censored here, they go to the original fucking source. Because they don't care. And overall, this puritanical censorship bullshit is just a justification to start fingering in, or let's just be honest here, open fisting in agendas that we don't want in our media. And we have been screaming for years, we don't want in our media. Stop trying to fist them in. And frankly, any person who agrees with this should be fired. You deserve to be fired. However, in an example of life's many contradictions, it should be noted that though Bandai Namco is clearly leaning into American-style modern Puritanism, it is Puritanism, guys. It really is. And the funniest part about it is the people who are complaining about the puritanicalism of America are the Puritans themselves. That not all of their productions have been affected by this way of thinking, thank God. For example, 2021 saw the developer release Tales of Arise without any form of censorship. Thank God, and I'm actually looking at a picture on the article of chicks in bikinis. Cool, good on them. Do you have to wear it all the time? No, you can wear it whenever you want. Get the fuck over it. Likewise, one of their main talents is the Tekken series director Katsuhiro Harada, who is well known for his refusal to play ball with any and all attempts, to shut down the fighting game franchise's identity, including those which have attacked its roster of female fighters. Good for you, Harada. Good for you. And because of that, I'm buying a copy of Tekken 8. A lot of times, the swimsuits was a good example. People who don't even play the game, they maybe just hear that there are swimsuits in it, and then they say, whoa, you have these girls in sexy swimwear? What's wrong with you? You're such male chauvinists, Harada told Eurogamer's Alf Wilson in 2016. Burn! And there's a reality in that quote. Shall we point out what that reality is? People who don't even play the game. People who don't even buy the game. Every single person that I am screaming at in this video are exactly that. People who don't even play the fucking game. They should not have positions of authority over said game. But what they don't know is that it started off in the arcade and it's a season line, like you do for Christmas, Halloween, wow. Apparently I'm becoming Japanified. Halloween or whatever. And it's not just the women. Robots have them. Kuma, Panda, the male characters have swimwear. Yes, they do. And there's no problem with that either. It's not like we're trying to sexualize the female characters at all, but they don't go and look for that info before they criticize, so that's pretty frustrating. It's exactly frustrating because it's targeted. And obviously, what that tells me is they don't have a problem with men walking out in thongs. What's wrong with you? If you're against all this kinds of sexy women and all, shouldn't you be against sexy men? Shouldn't you be against sexy robots? You bigoted istophobe. How dare you want Speedos on robots? That's how ridiculous this shit has gone. Unfortunately, while Tekken has a staunch defender in Harada, it appears that no other Bandai Namco franchise has such a champion to defend against the tides of censorship. That's because they're getting shouted down constantly within the company, and frankly, they shouldn't be! Thus, as of writing, it seems to be only a matter of time before Harada, and likely members of his team, finds himself as the company's sole island of artistic integrity. And frankly, if that's the way that it's gotta be, then that's the way that it's gotta be. But I have a feeling that Harada has a lot of people standing behind him. And frankly, those people are gonna start speaking out in their companies. And they're gonna start speaking out on their medias to be able to say, yeah, we wished we could have given you that sexy bikini Chun-Li, but we're not allowed to because Capcom HR has way too much power in this goddamn company. In case you can't tell my opinion on this particular subject, which for the record, I would suggest that your pair of earplugs are amazing and you should probably use those in the future, because I am still going to be hammering this 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. The artist is the one making the franchise and the one making the money. Who has more power in this company? The guy who brings in the money or the guy who sits there and red tapes everything in the process from making money? Unfortunately, with a lot of these executives, it is the latter, not the former. And it shouldn't be. It's funny because a decade ago, I was basically screaming this exact same problem, but not from the localization standpoint. I was screaming it in the form of marketers. Marketers had way too much power over these artists, and these artists are the ones that pay their paychecks to begin with. Capcom would not be where it is today if not for people like the creators of Mega Man, Resident Evil, Devil May Cry, all of those. They would be broke. And to the people who are constantly screaming that this is such a good thing, I can't reach out to you, and I'm not even gonna try. You are a brick wall, and frankly, it's time for actions to speak louder than words. These people should be fired. They should be severely demoted. In fact, what I find funny is all of the people in gaming journalism that are constantly pounding at people like Harada, they're the ones losing their jobs this year. And I can't help but laugh at the irony of that. But wait, we thought we had all the power. No, you don't. You overreached, people got sick of it, and then people started to do the one thing you didn't want them to do: ignore you. Which ultimately, the more that this starts happening, Bandai Namco, you're gonna start seeing a dip in your game sales. It's a good thing you have Tekken 8 and you have somebody like Harada, because Harada's gonna earn you a lot of money, and more than likely what's going to happen out of this is that the more money he tries to earn, the more that these little bitches within the company are going to try and target him and try and get him demoted, or more importantly, him fired, him canceled. And therefore, they will be able to take over his job and earn you no money whatsoever. And all we're going to be doing in that process is laughing our asses off at you, because you literally let go of the golden goose and did nothing in order to bring it back. And that's my opinion on this one. Their localization teams have way too much power and really need to be slapped in the face and their proverbial panties pulled out of their ass cracks. But let me know what you thought in the comments below, because I like being able to have that discussion. And hopefully you guys like what you hear. If you do, make sure to leave a like and a subscribe. I definitely appreciate it for this channel. And we will be back next week for more of the GNRO Minicast. Until then, take care.